Hey, hello. It's Neil from Clever Property Investing, and this is the next one in the series of videos I promised to put out there for you guys, going down from the list that was created from me asking my current clients what they would like a short video on. Obviously, as always, the videos I'm going to talk about is probably a very short introduction to actually what you need to do. We cover this kind of thing on a whole day training or on a whole few months one-to-one coaching and mentoring, but today I'm going to try and just cover it as much as I possibly can in a very short period of time, giving you some great ideas. Today we're going to talk about negotiating a lower price on a property. Now, there are lots of different ways, which is another session about how you find properties from various sources, but one of the sources most of you will be having to tap into initially is agents. And working with agents, we're finding the properties online with Rightmove, Zoopla, on the market, even Facebook, all these different types of platforms that you may find a property you're looking for. And once you've found the property and you've been out to look at it and you've viewed it, you've then got to think about how you're going to negotiate a better price. Now, when we do the figures and we do the numbers in the sessions and the coaching and mentoring that I do, we always come up with a figure that works best for us. And then we have a kind of not a barrier, a line where we would say that's our best ever deal. That's the best deal we can possibly get. And then we have a kind of a sliding scale as to how much more we would pay, depending on how much we're prepared to leave in the deal and what the return on investment's going to be. And that's going to have a big part in your negotiation, and that's going to have a big part in you deciding what it is that you can pay for that property. So let's, for example, say that we've done all of that work. You spent 3 or 4 months with me, 6 months with me. We've spent time and time going over the figures, banging out how much it's going to cost, how much it's worth, how much is going to be done up, a value is going to be, etc., doing all the research to make sure that the figures we're coming up with are right and making sure that we can put it forward the best possible offer for us, and taking into other factors such as how much we're prepared to leave in the deal. So we've come up with our figure and we've decided what it is we need to offer. Now, at this point, you probably haven't had much more than a look round, maybe 2 look rounds at the property. So you have a kind of a estimate of what the works is going to be on the property, what works it needs doing. And of course, you haven't done a full-on visual inspection of everything. You've just had a quick 5 or 10 minutes around the property with the agent, maybe once or twice, and then you've got the opportunity to say, okay, well, I believe it's going to be, let's say, for example, a £10,000 refurb. And I believe that's what it's going to cost to put this property into a good condition to get the best value I can for it later on when I need to refinance or sell or whatever it is you're going to do with it. That then gives you the figures to work with, and you've come up with a figure. Let's say, for argument's sake, let's just use a number that was pulled out there. Let's say, for example, £75,000 is your maximum offer that you're prepared to put in on this property. Now, remember, everybody is different. Everybody I work with has different criteria. Some people want maximum cash flow, so they want the best return on investment, which means their price has to be really hard. Some people are happy with a certain percentage on return on their investment, which means they've got a little bit more leeway, but it's still going to be a negotiation to take it down in the price. And some people are just happy to park their money that they've got sitting in a bank, earning them next to nothing. Although interest rates have gone up now and you might get 4 or 5%, they want to put the money into something tangible, something physical that you can touch and hold, and an asset that will give you better rates than the 4 or 5% you're going to get in the bank at the moment. Probably 8, 9, 10% would be acceptable for that kind of person. So we've come up with the figure for £75,000 as our best offer to fit whichever of those criteria it is. I'm not going to go into each and every one of them. As I said, this is a long training session, really a whole day at least on it. But £75,000 is the figure that works for me and gives me the outcome I want, whichever of those outcomes it is, whether it's cash flow, huge amounts of cash flow, whether it's a decent amount of cash flow, or whether it's a parking my money that's not going to be doing anything in the bank. So £75,000 is what I've offered. I've gone to the agent. Now the property may be on for, let's say, argument's sake, £100,000. £100,000, 75% is a big difference. That's, in this case, it's 25% below the asking price, which is a long way off and could be a challenge for you to get there. Now, let's say, for example, that they turn around and say no straight away, then that we're expecting no's. We don't want a yes straight away, because if we get a yes straight away, we think, oh, we should have gone in lower. We want no's, we're going for no's, and we know there's going to be lots of no's coming in the offers we put in. So when the no comes in, it means you're not quite there, really. It's not a total no, it's just that £75,000 isn't enough. So then we can we work our way around whether or not we're going to go any higher or any lower. And it really is, a negotiation can be a bit of time. There's so many factors involved in the negotiation. There could be that the property has been on the market for a very short period of time. If the property's only come on recently, they're not going to accept a low offer. They're listening to whatever the agent's told them the property's worth, and they're thinking, I'm going to hold out for that. The agent may have said, well, we could probably get 90 for this. So they're going to hold out for that 90 because it's only been on the market for a very short period of time. The other end of the scale is if the property's been on for quite a long time. Now, quite a long time could mean anything in different areas. I once went to an area where they said, oh, the properties are hanging around for a long time, and that's 3 weeks. And that for them was a long time. And you can go to another area where properties are hanging around for 6 months, 7 months. Nobody's really putting any offers in. So you've got to work out which is a long period of time for your area. So those are the properties that you've got to start with. So you're going after the properties. Okay, if you've gone in and put £75,000 on a property that's only been around for 3 or 4 weeks, that's fine. You're probably not going to get a yes, but what you can do is you can say, well, I'm happy to leave that offer on the table. Is it okay if I call you back in a few weeks and see how it's going? Of course, the agent's going to say yes to that. That's fine. And in a couple of weeks, you diarise it, probably 3 or 4 weeks' time. You make sure you do call them back and you ask them, has it sold? No, it hasn't sold. It's still on the market. Yes. Have you had many offers? No, I've had no more offers. Okay, my offer still stands. And you do that process repeatedly. It might take you 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 8 months even. Because remember, you're not just doing this for one property, you're doing this for multiple properties until you get to the point where you might get that offer accepted or very close to that offer being accepted. Now, if the property has been on for a long time, 6 months, 7 months, whatever, and the person really wants to sell, but just isn't getting anybody offering, everybody's coming in or saying it's too much, £100,000 is too much, way off. The agent has told them 90,000. The agent now at this point, normally about 5 weeks in, will be suggesting that they drop the price. Typical agent tactics. Let's put you on at a high price and then get you to drop it 4 or 5 weeks later back down to a more reasonable price. So maybe on for 100. The agent had told them they'd probably expect to get 90. The agent may ask them to drop it down to 90 now, and then they might start getting more interest. But even so, they're now at a point where they're more open to negotiation. You should have been in touch with that person multiple times in that 6 month period, at least once a month, still saying, I'm still interested, and I'm still interested at 75. Now, 4 or 5 months down the road, even 6 months down the road, they're going to be a bit more open to negotiation and talking with you. At that point, they're going to say, do you know what? We've had no offers. The agent told us 90,000. Nobody's offered us anything. We've had it on for 90,000 on the market. Nobody's interested at all. Let's have a chat with this guy that's offering 75, and let's see if he can go a bit higher. There's when the negotiation starts. So you might well say, okay, yep, I can go a little bit higher. I can go up to 80, for example. Again, all depends on your circumstances. You can go up to 80,000. Remember, we had a sliding scale. We started at 75 was our initial offer, but we could go up a little bit further to 80,000, 85,000. Now, if 85,000 is your top offer, then I wouldn't go straight in at that offer. Maybe go a little bit higher than the 70,000, 75,000. And you get this backwards and forwards of negotiation going on. They'll come down a little bit, you'll come up a little bit, and there's a little formula that I use, and and how many offers you should actually go, how many times you should increase, and how much you should increase by, all those kind of things. There's a little formula that I use when we're doing that. So let's say you get to a point where you get an offer accepted. So you started at 75, you've got to about 82, let's say, for a property that was on the market for 100. You've done very well already with that property. However, it's, ideally you'd like the 75, but you're on at 82. So at this point, the offer's been accepted and various things get done in the background with agents and solicitors, etc., to go forward formally with that purchase. At this point, you would do a couple of things. One, you would get a builder in and get an official quote, a proper quote of what it's going to cost you to do the work. Also, you would get a survey done. Now, the survey you might get done via the mortgage company, if you're mortgaging it, or the bridging company. Isn't really a survey, that's a valuation. Basically, that is them looking at the property and saying, we as a company are going to lend on this property. Is it worth what the person is borrowing from us is paying for it? So me, I've offered, and I've got 82,000, say, accepted on the property. The lender's going to send someone out to do a valuation and say, is it worth £82,000 right now? And that could come back yes or no. They may come back and say, no, it's not worth £82,000, or yes, it's fine, it's £82,000. But that's not a valuation. That's not a survey. That's just a valuation. What you really need to do here is get your own survey done. Get your survey done, and then your surveyor will pick up all the points that they think are wrong. Now, the surveyor has a kind of a grading system. Some have it in colours, some have it in numbers, some in numbers and colours. So they might have category 1, 2, and 3, or green, amber, red, depending on how severe the issues are that they've picked up. The main ones you're looking here are at the category 3s or the reds, so the worst case scenarios. For example, you may have a problem with the roof. There may be some lead flashing come off around the chimney. The chimney may be leaking into the house. There may be tiles missing. There may be challenges with damp. There may be other issues going on in the property. All of these things will be highlighted by your surveyor. Your surveyor won't say exactly what the problem is or how to deal with it. They will say that they found this and you should seek further advice, which is effectively what you're going to get your builder to give you prices for anyway. So at this point, you may find 3 or 4 things that come up on the survey that you weren't aware of, or you were aware of, but you weren't aware of the severity of them. That's what's important. At this point, you can now go back and renegotiate. So let's say, for example, we've picked up some damp, we've picked up some problems with the chimney, and we've picked up some problems with the roof. We've gone to our building contractor and we've said, how much is it going to cost to put these things right? The building contractors come back, giving us an estimate of each item, possibly come in at around about, say, for those items, let's say £6,000 extra on top of what you already expected to be doing. So you can now, at this point, go back to your agent and say, hang on a minute, the surveyor's come up with these problems. I've gone to my builder, he's come up with a price of an extra £6,000 more. Now remember, I said we were going to get it for 81 or 82. We wanted it for 75. There's £6,000 worth of problems there. So that could bring us back down to the 75 or 76 mark with these problems alone. It's unlikely that your seller is going to say, fine, I'm going to knock another £6,000 off of there. However, you might say, let's meet in the middle. Knock £3,000 off, and I'll take the other £3,000 in my costs. So that'll then bring you back down to, what's that, 78, 76, 77, 78. And that's much more realistic and much more closer to your figure. So again, that's a negotiation. So that's not a trick. We're not cheating anyone. We're actually finding out for sure what's wrong with this property, and we're going to go back. Now, still at this point, your seller and your agent may turn around and say, no way, that's just ridiculous. We're going to put it back on the market. And you know what? That's fine. The power here is that you can walk away, because if it doesn't meet your criteria, the criteria we've done, the figures we've done, the works we've done, all the background we've done to work out that it's got to be 75 to 80 maximum for us, but anywhere near that figure is what we're looking for, closer to 75, this deal works for us. If they're not going to accept the difference that you found, knock off the price, then walk away, just say, okay, well, fine. And literally just today, I've been talking to somebody who has done exactly that. They've gone back with an offer saying how much they want to have taken off. The agent's gone to the owner. The owner's come back with a very small amount taken off. And today we've just decided he should walk away. Now, this is where the power happens, because agents have been telling the seller that you can get more for it. So the seller's like, oh, take it off, we'll put it back on the market, we'll get more for it. Well, actually, in the market we're in right now, you can't. You probably won't have anywhere near as many people come and look at it as you may have done 6 months to 12 months ago. So now the agent's looking stupid because the seller's going to be saying, well, okay, put it back on the market. You said you're going to get it for me. So they put it back on the market. Let's say they put it on for 90,000. Still no interest. Still no interest. And again, this is where your database and your backup kicks in. A couple of weeks' time, you phone up and say, is it still sold? Has it gone? I'm still interested at 75. Maybe even take 77. Pay 77. And a bit longer goes on. And what you may well find is they will come back to you and say, okay, we'll take your offer because nobody else has come on board with it. Nobody else has come forward to want to take that property. You know, we're in a very strong market at the moment for a buyer. There is less people out there buying. There's lots of landlords selling up. There's lots of people getting to a situation where they're coming off their fixed mortgage rates and they're going up. Today, I looked at a mortgage of one of mine that's coming off a fixed rate. The fixed rate was 3.2. The rate they're offering me now is 5. It's a big jump. But because I've done all my figures and because I did all my stress testing beforehand when I first bought the property way back when, that's still fine. 5% still works for me and it's still okay. I'm not stressed out about it, but other people may not have worked on that. Other people may have worked on that 3% and stuck to that 3%, and now it's creeping up. It's not going to make them any money. So they may have to sell. So there's lots of factors around this. You don't know why they're selling or what they're selling. Your job as chief negotiator is to try and find those information out. Why are they selling? Do they need to quick sell because they're coming off the mortgage rate and they can't afford it? Do they want to sell because they're moving house? Has somebody passed away in the family and this is just a house they're selling because they don't want it anymore? What is the circumstances behind it? If it's a case of somebody just moving house, perhaps they're upgrading, so they're going from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, it's very unlikely they're going to want to take a lower price because they need more money to buy the bigger house. Unless they can negotiate on the bigger house to bring that down so they can take less on this one. Again, a good negotiator, you could also assist with that. You could maybe go and negotiate for them, see if you can get the price down. And one of the things I've done in the past, I said, if I can get that house down by 3,000, will you take £3,000 off the price I pay you? Yes, was the answer. Of course it's yes. Or even more than that, whatever you can get it down by. So remember, there's a little tricks there. You can help move things forward if they're saying, even in a situation where they're upgrading, that they may not be able to take the price you're offering. And the biggest thing here is time. You've got to go and look at as many properties as you can, get as many offers in. Again, there's formulas and there's numbers and figures that work for the number of offers you should be having in to make this work for you, because you've got to keep going and build up that momentum, and you've got to be viewing multiple properties. When I started, I viewed 80 properties before I got my first offer accepted. I didn't offer on all 80 of those properties, but I viewed 80 properties. I was trying to do 10 a week, so it took me 8 weeks to get to the point where I got an offer accepted on a property. That's the kind of intensity that you've got to think about. You can't just go out and look at 4 or 5 properties, put an offer and expect one of them to come in. It's not going to happen. You've got to get out there and do the work. You've got to start looking at all those properties in the area you've identified at the prices that you've worked out. And then once those offers have been accepted, then you can negotiate a little bit more, maybe get some more off. If you do the survey and there's no problems with it, then there's not a lot you can do about that. You can make a cheeky offer if you want to, or slightly lower offer, but you're really just insulting people because they're going to say, well, it's priced as what it is. You offer that. Nothing's changed. Why are you dropping the price? You've got to have a good, valid reason to negotiate lower after you've had your offer accepted. Before you get your offer accepted, that's when you can be a lot harsher and trying to get those figures down. Once you've got your offer accepted, the next step will be doing the survey, getting the builder in, and then seeing if it's going to match up to what you thought it might be. Another thing might be the builder might come back and say, you estimated £10,000 for this refurb, however, it's going to be more like 15. That's something you can also go back to the agent and say, I've underestimated how much it's going to cost for the refurb. I've got a quote here for £15,000. I was estimating 10. I need to drop this price a little bit. Meet me halfway, knock another 2.5 off, and I'll take the extra 2.5. These are all little tools you can use in negotiation. But most of all, most importantly, is about communicating with the agent, speaking to them professionally and helping them understand what it is you're looking for and what you're prepared to pay and why, and justifying all these little negotiation, all these drops in prices. So hopefully that's been useful. Very short video there on negotiating. If you need to ask any questions, please by all means do. Alternatively, you could book in a Zoom call with me through my diary at contact us at cleverpropertyinvesting.co.uk, and maybe even come on board and join the mentoring program, coaching program with me, and let's work together for 6 months and get you to the goals that you want to achieve, the property you want to achieve, and the money you want to get from those properties. So have a great day. Take care.